Welcome to the Dr. Stacy Show, where we're talking all about things faith, love, and wellness. I'm your host, Dr. Stacy, and I'm very excited to be kicking off this inaugural season. Each season, we're going to tackle a theme, and this season, we'll be tackling healing Black men and lifting Black boys. I'll be taking the time to speak to some incredibly talented and amazing Black men in their fields and profession to gain insight into key areas of wellness and how we can support with faith, love, and wellness our Black men and boys. So I am so honored and excited to have today Dr. Joe Johnson. Dr. Joe Johnson is a transformational voice helping leaders and organizations navigate purpose in the age of AI technology advancement. He has over 20 years of experience transforming organizations like Toyota, FedEx, the National Guard, and he is the author of Pursue Your Purpose, Not Your Dreams, creator of the Strategic Goal Setting Mastermind and Heal Now Masterclass. Dr. Joe empowers leaders in authentic leadership while leveraging new technologies, and he's been featured on things like NBC, VH1, OWN, and various national platforms. Dr. Joe's approach combines common sense, street sense, and academic knowledge with forward-thinking strategies helping organizations and individuals navigate change while strengthening rather than diluting their purpose. Dr. Joe, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Dr. Stacy. I'm excited. I'm excited to jump on into it.
So I'm glad you're excited. So great. Talk to me, because one of the things, even your hat, I love purpose over dreams. Talk to us about that thought process, philosophy. What does that even mean?
Yeah, it's an immediate conversation starter. But, I grew up playing ball, and I also grew up hearing dream big, follow your dreams. And what I realized as I got older was that there were a lot of people that dream big and they followed their dreams, and they got to this point and realized it had nothing to do with their purpose, right? So if you look at the fundamental definitions, because oftentimes we like to have debates, arguments, and we're arguing or debating or we're having conversations about language, and we're not speaking from the same root of a language, right? And so when I went back and I said, well, what does dreams mean? What does purpose mean? It's very simple. Dreams are thoughts or ideas that may or may not come true. Purpose is the reason for which someone or something exists. If you ask me, this is just me, the way I operate, there's a spiritual connection to that word purpose. So purpose is a lot deeper than this word dream. So that's where that comes from.
Okay, so you just dropped a lot right there. So even this idea of dreaming big, and and I love that you said sports, because I'm more of I always tease people, I'm like a male therapist. So I do a lot with sports and females too, but this idea of even becoming an athlete or professional athlete, right? And I always say the hoop dreams are great because at least it gets our young men to college. But talk to people, when you just said about dreams may not come true, talk to us a little bit, not just in sports, but what made that look like for just, I guess, people with careers and jobs and field spaces?
Yeah. Well, so I worked in a school as a school counselor before, right? In some schools at every different level. And one of the things that I noticed was how many of the educators complained about their jobs, right? And what they did. And then I worked in the corporate space as well. And I would hear the same complaints about, I don't want to be here. I don't like this job. And what I realized when I looked at the research and looked at the data, they say about 52% of Americans are unhappy at work, right? 70-something% are disengaged while they're at work. And another 70% are actively looking for a new job while they're at work. So for me, that tells us something, right? That tells us that there's a disconnect between what we're being taught when we're younger on how to go after what it is that we desire versus what we actually do. And so for me, when you begin to realize that you can create the life and career that you desire, right? You control your destiny. There's a certain freedom that you begin to feel and you begin to operate in when you start to think like that and develop that mindset.
I love that word, freedom. I think most people, when they think of their jobs, they don't think of happiness and they don't think of freedom. What would you say to people who are the people that are looking at other jobs and really want that freedom? What's kind of that first step? What do they need to do to make those shifts and move?
Yeah, oftentimes when I work with individual clients, I always tell them it's therapeutic coaching. It's not therapy, but it's therapeutic coaching, right? Because my background is counseling. And there's a difference between a coach and a therapist. I always have to make sure people understand that, right? But, what I would share with people is too often we don't explore the way that we used to when we were young and kids, right? If you're interested in something, go explore it, right? Go find out. I know people who thought they wanted to be a surgeon until they went and spent an hour and saw all that blood, and they said, absolutely not. This ain't gonna work, right? I thought I wanted to be a principal. It took me 30 minutes to realize, nope, don't want to be a principal,
No.
right?
Day one.
Oh yeah, like I wouldn't should know. I went and shadowed somebody. That's all it took. I thought I wanted to do this. Let me go shadow, right? So what I share with people often is go expose yourself to that. Go hang with somebody that's doing that, right? And the other part that I tell people to start off with, write down everything that you don't want to do, right? And it really helps for individuals that are trying to figure out what it is that they do. So exposure and writing down everything that you don't want to do.
Yeah, I think that's so key. And when you talk about exposure, there's such a beauty in us being able to do that, even with our children, right? Exposing them early. I know for my daughter and son, both of them, my daughter said she wanted to be a fashion designer. She had a sewing machine since she was 8 years old. She's now at SCAD pursuing fashion.
Okay.
My son
Yeah.
wanted chemistry. He's got a chemistry set. He'll be at University of Delaware for chemistry, right? Like those were the things to say, even to say, hey, try this out, explore our educational systems. If we're waiting for them to do that, they really don't, not to the level that our kids need. One of the things, when you just talked a little bit about people then exploring, right? Because it's kind of hard once we're already in that job we don't like. How do people transition? How do they make that move?
Yeah, well, the first thing I'm gonna tell people all the time, listen to your body, right? Your
Mhm.
body speaks to you, right? You're trying to get up in the morning, but you don't have the energy. That's your body talking to you. You're overeating, that's your body talking to you, right? You're overworking out, that's your body talking to you, right? Over drinking, like all of this stuff, undersleeping, right? That's your body telling you something. So when you start to get up and you say, oh, here we go again, I don't want it, right? Your body is telling you something and you have to listen. And too often, people will do that for years and years and trying to figure out why their life isn't how they want it to be. That's because you're not listening to what your body and your soul is telling you. You're not connected with yourself. You will become lost.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I love that you made the change for coaching because I find that Black men will come in for coaching over therapy when they hit that point in their career, right? The kind of like, what do I do next? What am I supposed to be doing? Am I what? When you said purpose, do you think we struggle with that word because we do make it more of a spiritual versus a kind of something to attain and to go after?
To me, this is my perspective, and I always like to say my perspective as I, dig deep and have dug deep into just the idea of purpose and dreams and transitioning. But the way in which we talk about purpose oftentimes is you're going to figure out what you want to do and you'll be all set, right? Like that's not real. That's not real.
Mm.
I tell people all the time, once you connect to the initial layer of your purpose, after that, you will get introduced to the other levels of your purpose, right? So there's no such thing as, you'll be doing this the rest of your life. Maybe, right? That's up to some folks, but I need people to understand that purpose isn't understood the way that it needs to. And I believe that with dreams as well. Like we just push language and push it and push it and push it. I was about to say something might be a little controversial, so I am going to say it. It's the same way some folks push religion and people don't understand it. They're just doing it because somebody told them this is what you should believe, right? And so we have to dig deeper when it comes to purpose and understand that there are levels to this thing, purpose, but you got to tap into the initial level of your purpose.
So you were going to go controversial, but that's okay because that's what it's about, right? Listen, I always tell people I'm a little churchy. It's all good though. It's all good.
Yeah.
So because I do think, right, people, when we talk about purpose, people do go right to spirituality and religion. And the idea that what if it was an educator or a teacher or a coach talking to a young man about his purpose?
Yeah.
How things look different for our young people if we really sat down, like you said, even in the counseling setting, they're talking more about like the career path and education, but less about, hey, what are you designed for? What's your purpose? Even your unique gifts.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do, what you do. I cannot sew. I tease my daughter all the time. Like I'm handing her things to sew. That was not my gifting. Like, I was not called to sew, but even in something like that, I can see that she's gifted, she's designed specifically for that purpose. And that is, again, her talent, as we like to say. But I think her talent and her gifts are setting her up ideally to fulfill that purpose.
Let me say this real quick, because the reason we talk so much about purpose in connection to like career is because if you look at the numbers, we spend a lot of time each day working, right? And so when you talk about purpose and what I should do in life, there is a big focus there because we spend a lot of time there. But when I talk about purpose, yes, it's there. And we have to understand the other areas of purpose for ourselves, right? Like we have a life purpose. We have so many different purposes. And what I tell people, like there are like these arms, right? So I think of like, do you have your spiritual, right, piece of yourself together? Do you have your mental? Do you have your physical, right? And then we come to that word alignment. And when you're in alignment, you can really operate within that purpose, specifically to career, and be able to, I say unleash, right? I don't say find your purpose, discover your purpose. I say unleash because it's already here. But you also are able to tackle those other areas of your life's purpose, right? So whether that's parenting, whether that's whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing, you can fall into that easier.
I like the word unleash. You've got some really keywords. I know one word that we haven't talked about yet, but you use the word disruption. Talk to my audience about disruption and how do you use that word in your work?
Yeah, if you go back to grade school, I love connecting things to when we were younger, because I always share all of us are recovering from our childhood, right? It don't matter who we are, right? You're always going to hear me say that. And so if you think about that word disruption, it reminds me of my report card when I was younger, and it would say the grades, and then the comments would say disruption in class, disrupts class. And I used to be like, oh, I'm gonna get a whooping. Why'd you put that down? I'm gonna get a whooping, right? And so the word disruption has this negative connotation to it, right? And if you really
Yeah.
look at the word disruptor, it actually means innovation. Innovate, right? So how do you disrupt traditional ways of doing things? For example, your mama or your daddy might have said, hey, this is how you cook the macaroni. And next thing you know, you found a better, faster way to cook it. It tastes the same. And you're like, what? You just disrupted this tradition that was given to you, right? But some folks, they are so stuck on tradition. They can't see nothing else. They can't hear nothing else. They don't want to hear you. Listen, disruption is critical, because sometimes if we don't disrupt, prime example, hotels been around forever. Airbnb came in, disrupted the whole industry, right?
Yes.
We were told buying a car is a liability, right? Now it's not, because if you can't pay your car note, guess what? You could put it on Turo and make money with your car, right? Like these things disrupted traditional ways of thinking and acting, and that's what being a disruptor is about.
And I love because, well, first of all, you just gave people hope that the comments on the report card will benefit their child one day. So again, strength-based language to say,
That's
okay,
right.
we can take disruptive behavior and now see the strength in that. I love it.
Yep.
But that is so true. Even the idea of saying, because we do, even with occupations, right? We're now telling our kids, you got to go to school, you got to go to college. And then now the kids are saying, but hold up, we want to be a YouTuber, we want to be a streamer.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a career years ago. Now it's a college major. And so, right, to say if we're paying attention even to just not technology, but how things can change and that new idea can make a total difference. I love staying at an Airbnb versus a hotel, just for all the conveniences of home, right? Like I can actually cook and I can do different things even in that space. Speaking of technology, you work with organizations and helping people to understand, I guess, how AI is becoming a disruptor. Can you talk a little bit about that work and what you do in that space?
I'm about to call the therapist out, y'all. Y'all ready? Don't be asking me no closed questions. No, I always teach I'm also a professor and I teach future counselors. And so whenever I hear closed questions, I'm like, hey, why you ask that closed question, right? But anyway.
Stand it for us, Dr. Joey.
No, yeah. So when it comes to purpose, this is the power of getting around and being around people that are different than you are, right? And I started to hang around different groups of people, and I got introduced to this tech space, right? And so when I was always curious, and I was always good with like learning how to do things myself. And I started to learn like, man, this tech and this AI stuff is very interesting, right? And so I realized that a lot of people, let's say Black folks in general, I'm gonna say Black and brown folks back in the day, one of the reasons that we were not able to create the type of life we wanted and have the income that we wanted is because we did not have the information, right? And that information was intentionally hidden from us, right? And so when I started learning this information, I said, you know what? I'm gonna create a YouTube channel where I can share, hey, this is where the world is and where it's going. Here's information about tech, data. Here's areas that you need to think about. And so right now, at first it was all about going to college. Some people at times will talk about the trades, electrician, plumbing, all of that. Now, if folks are not talking about certifications within the tech industry and artificial intelligence, getting these certifications, you don't have to go to college for 4 years, right? You get these certifications and they will hire you. So what's very important for me now is to get this information to the people. And my partner and I have a partnership with Microsoft to help individuals get certified within some of these tech and AI areas.
That's wonderful. I just was speaking at a Tech Titan summer camp, and that's their whole vision is to introduce middle school Black and brown students to technology, but they're doing things like with drones and AI. I mean, you saw me with technology. I could barely get a microphone get this set up. And here's again, we go back, when computers first started, and to say we were fearful, right? How many people did you hear say they were afraid? Even people were afraid of Alexa. Now, I don't have an Alexa. I'm on the afraid of Alexa train. But that is so true that we will get left behind once again if we are not current with what's changing in technology.
Listen, we are in a time where another transfer of wealth is getting ready to happen if you are on board early, right? And I'm gonna be honest, right? And most of the time you'll hear me say race has to do with everything. And guess what? You're gonna hear me say it again. Race has to do with everything. But in this time, it is open. Opportunity is open for everybody. If you're willing to learn the information, put in the work, and go get it. No excuses.
You'll get it. Listen, I love, and here, and you said the right word though, put in the work, because it's not easy. And I think sometimes when we think about purpose and connecting that it does take work. Talk to me, Dr. Joe, because you work with people who are maybe struggling with that idea of purpose. And what does that look like for our Black men specifically? Like in that space, I can't speak. I'm a Black female. I know my struggles with purpose, transitions, all that good stuff. That's a whole nother show. But talk to our Black men that may be struggling with purpose.
That's a loaded question. Ooh, that's a loaded question. But, I think the immediate thing that comes to my heart is how often I can go on social media and see this bashing back and forth, right? The men say this, the women say this, and then there's this clash, right? And I always want people to understand that as a man, as a Black man specifically, there's a lot of pressure put on us to not only be an example, but to almost always have our stuff together.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of pressure there. And when a Black man feels like they don't have their stuff together and they still have to worry about, as people say, being the provider, right? Being the protector, right? Being all of that, right? Internally, there's a battle that's happening and we're fighting an external battle, right? And so for me, and I can't speak for all Black men, but I am a Black man, a proud Black man, but where they feel so much pressure that for the ones who cannot take the pressure, right? It's almost as though they go into this ball, right, of self-protection, and sometimes we'll forget about the ones that they're supposed to protect. And I'm not saying protection in the physical, but I'm saying if you're a father, right, the finances that you have to worry about, the love you have to show, right? If you have a partner, the affection that you're supposed to show, all of that ceases when you have this internal battle, and now you get real tight and people don't know what's going on. You still smiling, you still, hey, how you doing? But in reality, you burning and you just cracking in the inside.
And I think you're right when we say social media and what it looks like and bashing instead of saying, how do we come alongside? And I'm hoping through talking about these 8 different dimensions of wellness from a Black male perspective that we can start to tap into a different conversation in supporting Black men. Because you nailed it right there, even with this idea of the sacrifice that Black men have to make to be successful. I mean, I hate to say, and again, put others out there to say, what did it look like? The idea of the successful corporate male, right? Just say male. You know, it's hours away from your family, it's travel, it's being available 7 days a week and missing, sports and activities. And we don't think about that. Well, if you want that for your Black male, then there is sacrifice that comes with that. I mean, again, we love work-life balance. I say to folks, but let's be honest, corporate don't have work-life balance. Lawyers, doctors, therapists, we don't have work-life balance.
Right, right.
These are long days. I'm like, I'll be here till 8. This is why I work with children, because I enjoy it, at least. I enjoy my day. So as we're kind of closing out, Dr. Joe, kind of talk for a minute. I know you have throughout this whole segment to our Black men, but specifically around your idea of purpose over dreams. What would you say, kind of your final thoughts to our Black men? And then also, how do we help raise our Black boys with this idea of purpose?
Yeah. So let me just say to the Black men that will watch this, will watch the replay, will share this video. Let me just say to you that as much pressure as I know you have on you, the power will be in your ability to ask for help. Point blank and simple. If you try to do this thing on your own, and this thing is called life, it will beat you down if you do not ask for help. We do not know everything. I thought I did. I don't. We do not know everything. Sometimes we have a hard time listening to the people that love us, right? But ask for help, and get the second part, from qualified people. And let me be clear, a degree does not always make someone qualified, right? I tell people that a degree does not always make someone qualified, but make sure someone isn't as broken as you are and you're asking them for help. Now, that's for the Black man. Now, when you talk about the youngsters, right? You asked me about our young people. I always want to be an example. I have 2 sons, 12 and 10, 2 Black boys, beautiful Black boys. I say one looks exactly like me. The other one looks like me, but he has more of a Chico DeBarge, right? One of the DeBarge family. He got the little wavy curly hair, right? But, the best thing that I believe that we can do for young people is to show them every side of us and not hide pieces of who we are. Let me tell you what that means. When we were younger and you were here, the adults say, this is a grown folks conversation. Get out of here, right? No. They need to see us have the hard conversations. They need to see us cry. They need to see us win, right? They need to see us go through it. They need to see every side so that they know life isn't always easy, but it don't mean that life is always going to be this, right? So they have to see that side. When it comes to operating in purpose, too many of us, we're not around people who are doing that. Purpose is an energy, right? When you're around somebody that love what they do, right? When they know that they're great at what they do, that's the energy. So to be around that, you like, man, I need to get this feeling, right? So as much as you can, if that's not you, get them around folks who are doing that, because you're going to feed off that as well, right? So once again, do not do none of this on your own, but allow them to see all those areas that a lot of times in the past generations, they did not allow us as youngsters to see within those adults that we were around.
Man, that's beautiful. I'm telling you that's going to be the clip right there, folks. That's the clip. All right. So Dr. Joe, one of the things I do with each of my guests, because wellness, when we talk about wellness, and I say again, we definitely want to have a joyful heart. It is good medicine. So this is my Laffy Taffy joke moment before you go. You ready?
It better be good too.
It is silly. All right, here we go. How do cows communicate? How do cows communicate?
Through music.
Oh, that's close. It's through movables, like mobile phones, but you were close. I love it. You must have definitely had Laffy Taffy.
All the time, all the time.
All right, so Dr. Joe, you're probably the second person that's actually gotten their Laffy Taffy joke close. So this is good. This is good. I love it. Do me a favor. Can you tell folks where to find you, what you offer? This is the time to give your social media plug, what kind of projects you have going on. Tell them everything.
Yeah. So the number one thing is make sure you follow me. You can go to purposeoverdreams.com. I'm all over social media, Dr. Joe Johnson, but more importantly, Joe Johnson Speaks. At Joe Johnson Speaks, you'll be able to find that everywhere. Then the other thing is a couple of things. If you're trying to figure out how to transition with the least amount of stress, and you don't want to do it on your own, and you want to figure out how to operate within your purpose or go to that next level of your purpose, make sure you just send me a message. Easy. You can send me a message at joejohnsonspeaks@gmail.com. Right. The other thing is I really want to make sure that I'm getting as many people into this tech space. Right. This doesn't mean that you have to just fully get rid of your job but you have to learn about tech. Right. And if you really want to make some new type of money, got to get involved with this tech space. Right. And so because of the partnership we have with Microsoft, I would love to help get you all certified. Right. And some of these areas that you all might be interested in, whether it's within AI, whether it's in whatever tech, but they are looking for folks right now. Right. And so make sure you go follow my YouTube, Purpose and Tech. All right, it's Purpose and Tech. I'm talking all about purpose and tech, but that'll help you get an understanding of the data, the money that's here, and the things that you could do. But with that said, make sure you stay connected with me.
Sounds great. All right. So as we close out our show, our last segment is Love the Babies Well, my little send off. And so today we're talking about this importance of occupation. Do you see a man who excels in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before unknown men. There's a beauty in seeing men who walk in their purpose. What would the world look like if we helped our young kings find their purpose at even a young age? As a therapist, I've heard the question, what is my purpose? What am I here for? From children as young as 5, from men even in their retirement. As caregivers, coaches, teachers, anyone in the life of young people, let's help them find their purpose by identifying their strengths early, supporting their growth, and even as Dr. Joe said, having the doors open for opportunity and exploration. My parenting advice has always been train, coach, and cheer. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in today to Dr. Stacy Show. Until next time, keep the faith, love the babies well, and pursue wellness.